Right, so cut a long story short, I was basically got what amounts to a 3 year of Copart membership. I'm not a trader. I don't buy and sell cars particularly. I don't mind having a little fiddle around with my own cars as a hobby, but that's about it. Um, so I thought I would use this membership and have a little look and see what it was about. And I've basically done everything you are not supposed to do. I've bought a car that is used, unrecorded, sight unseen, haven't looked at it, haven't even done a remote viewing. I put in an early bid before the auction had started. Yeah, I've done everything wrong. I've done everything you're not supposed to do. The used unrecorded, the category used are extremely risky anyway, by all accounts. Photos look fine. It's quite a tidy looking car on the outside. There's nothing obvious like big puddles of oil underneath, although potentially that could be splattering of oil. Where is it there? That could be oil splattering out from hopefully just a rock cover. The it's missing a cap or something there. There's like a double capped expansion tank there. I'm hoping one's just a washer reservoir, but it's but it's missing one cap anyway. It supposedly runs and drives, and oh yeah, it doesn't have a logbook either. So yeah, primary damage, minor scratches and normal wear. Nothing listed about mechanical. The only other additional information is that the engine management light is on, according to this, an electrical fault. These are notorious for throwing up weird fault codes that don't actually relate to what's wrong with the car. So it could be that a trader, a second-hand dealer, is just taking it in Part X and can't be bothered with it. But I mean, I don't know. I've got bad vibes about it already. But we'll see how it pans out. There was a reserve on it of £800. I don't know if that's good or bad, putting a reserve on it. It could be that the vendor thinks that it's worth a certain amount, or it could just be someone just trying their luck and getting what they can. I put in a bid before the auction had even started to buy it now, a bid of £700. Didn't hear anything yesterday afternoon, woke up this morning, 8:30, boom, my offer's been accepted. I was kind of hoping it wouldn't be, because I was very much in two minds about this. Well, one mind really, which was probably shouldn't have done it. So with fees and everything else, the car is bought, it's done, it's sold. With delivery fees and the online bidding fees and everything else, I'm already into it for £1,000. I think 1,042. Haven't had a delivery date yet, so we will see what happens. So this video will be basically when you do something stupid on Copart, what happens. You hear horror stories from Copart, things that are listed as runs and drives, and when it's picked up or when it's delivered, it turns out that kind of, yes, it does run and drive, but it's running on 3 cylinders because the fourth piston is hanging out the block. You hear things like the rest of the engine is in the boot. I'm hoping this is not the case for this one. If it's just something like the convertible roof isn't working or something like that, I can live with that. Underneath, can't really see anything drastic underneath. I can't work out whether that's oil, but that looks like the back of the car. So yeah, I can't see any drive shafts or any sump or anything, so I think that is the back of the car. So whether I've taken the back of the car like that, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know anything about it other than that it's got no logbook and it runs and drives, and it's a category U unrecorded. These are potentially not the end of the world, potentially a bargain, but extremely risky. It could be a trader, like I said, trader taking it in Part X, didn't want to bother fixing it. Could be something that's already been through Copart once or twice as a category U with really bad damage and has been patched up and has gone through again to try and make some money on it. there's all sorts of horrible things that could be the case with this. So yeah, who knows? Who knows? We will find out when it gets delivered, I suppose. I'm fully expecting it to be horrendous now that it's now that I've bought it. So we'll see. We'll find out just how much money this loses. Well, the mystery Copart Peugeot has arrived. The driver says it does actually start and run. Doesn't necessarily mean it's not knackered, but it's a runner. So we'll see. We'll see, I suppose. And there it is. Yeah, fingers crossed it's not horrendous. We'll find out. Oh, the window's done. Okay, well, needs a good clean. Well, we'll see. We'll see. It will drive off, hopefully. Well, it did drive off and it did get here. There's absolutely nothing in the battery. I've just blown my little boost pack. Trying to start it up, it wasn't having it at all. So, preliminary inspection. There is water, no coolant, but water in the expansion tank at the maximum level. The oil is up to level, and it doesn't look horrendous. It's not horrible black oil. It's reasonably recent. It's obviously had a rocker cover gasket leak at some point. Might even still be leaking potentially. That's minging. Car's filthy. I've got no idea yet how much works and what doesn't work. Inside, it's minging, but the tyres have got air. The boot opens. Oh, it might not now because I've disconnected everything, but it did. The engine didn't sound terrible when it fired up. Didn't sound too rattly. Didn't sound rattly at all, really. Inside needs a good sorting out. Need the new module there for the air conditioning thing. That's a bit flaky. Hole in the seat, burn in the seat, and it stinks. And there's a bit of mould up here. That's the salvage number, because technically it's a scrap vehicle that hasn't been recorded as scrap, which is good in some ways because it means technically it's got a clean history. It's bad in other ways because it means you don't actually know what's happened to it. My first guess is I haven't got a guess because the ignition barrel's not damaged. There's no real crash damage, nothing extensive. So I don't know what's wrong with it or how it's come to be in this state. It looks fairly straight. There's a few little odds and ends, like that's loose there, and this is no good underneath. But technically it is taxed and MOT'd. This is no good here, a big scrape here, and there's a big dent here, and we've just got some tape over it, so I'll have to investigate that a bit further, see what the score is with that. That feels quite flimsy, but I suspect even when they were new these were quite flimsy, so I'll get some fresh fuel in it, charge the battery overnight, see what happens, see if I can read any fault codes, and then start trying to figure out what's what and whether or not it's going to be something to do something with or something to chuck in the bin. But yeah, first impressions are it started and it drove up here and the engine didn't sound bad, and it's got oil and it's got water. So first hurdle has been successfully hurdled, in as much as it's not dead. Doesn't mean it isn't going to die, but at the moment, for the time being, it lives, but it is in a very sorry state. Right, well, we've got it in the garage, dead as a doornail battery wise, so we're Going to charge it up overnight, see what happens when I fire it up, and read some fault codes, stick some fresh petrol in, see what happens. So there it is in the garage. That's the second hurdle successfully overcome, up the drive under its own power and then pushed into the garage. As it rolls, it steers, it starts just about with the help of a battery pack. So with a fully charged battery and some fresh fuel, then we can hopefully run it up long enough to see whether or not we're going to get oil in the water and water in the oil, whether the cooling fan works, whether the air conditioning and the heater works, and what sort of fault codes we're reading once the car's up and running and up to temperature. Definitely sounds like it's firing on all cylinders. So we'll see what happens. So far, nowhere near as bad as it could have been, but definitely not out of the woods. Right, so the battery has been charging overnight, and it did fire up, and it is idling under its own steam, albeit not brilliantly. Anti-pollution system faulty. There's the reversing bleepers, they work. I'll just come straight out because the mirrors are folded in. So it is idling, got the engine management light on. There is an oil leak, but it's idling, and it's idling all right. I didn't like the air conditioning being on, but yeah, it does seem to fire up and want to run. It's got old fuel in it, which probably doesn't help. Let's have a look at the interior while we're in here. It's a seen better days, that's for sure. Needs a new button there, that's starting to come off. Some of these buttons are a bit finished. The seats need to come out, and it needs a really good clean. It has got back seats, such as they are, not particularly roomy, well, not roomy at all, but it's got the alloy wheel nut, it's got some other odds and ends, don't know what that is in there, and there's another little, could be a fuse box in there. So, oh, that's for the that's the air conditioning glove blocks, I think, cool glove blocks. Got to find the port for the OBD. That'll be knocking around somewhere around here. So it's the basic model. It doesn't have all the heated seats and the fancy climate control and everything else, but it does fire up. This needs fixing. So yeah, a bit of a shambles in here. Somebody else's odds and ends. I'm not quite sure what that is. I think that's for a key or something, like a card key. I'm not really sure. But yeah, and that seat there's knackered. Oh, there we go. What does that say? Battery charge or electrical supply faulty. So that just could be the battery's absolutely knackered. It's starting to idle lumpy now. Anti-pollution system and battery. So I think maybe the battery is knackered. And we'll see about the rest. The oil leak's a priority at the moment underneath. got to fix that thing there. Haven't tried the roof yet. We'll see about that maybe. So here we go, this is it running. When you rev it up, it doesn't sound horrific. But I've not listened to it from the engine bay yet, so it doesn't sound immediately like there's like terribly loose pulleys or anything like that. But we'll just have to see how that goes. But drive it, starting up under its own power, so you know, could be worse. A bit of a closer look around it now. Now that it's sort of I've been around it for a little bit. That needs sorting out there. That hopefully can be pushed back from the inside. I'm not quite sure how, but I think that can be done. That's loose there. There's a reversing thing missing now. This needs tidying up, this end's either pushed in or that pushed out. That scuff needs doing, that needs fixing. This gouge here on the door is quite bad, and it's done the paint there, but I think again that could maybe be pushed out from the other way, from the outside. And we'll just have to see about the rest. Yeah, there's the fan coming on. I don't know why the fan's coming on, because it's not got hot enough for the fan to have come on. So there's a fan issue that could be linked to something else electrical, not really sure. These need sorting out in here. Wheels aren't in horrific condition. Pads look alright on that side anyway, at least. And it doesn't sound bad. It really doesn't sound bad. It's not knocking. Pulleys don't sound loose. Belt's going okay. The alternator, the AC compressor did kick in, but then kicked out again and started going backwards and forwards. So, but that could be related to if it's not charging very well. There's all sorts of issues. I don't want to write off the compressor just yet. Yeah, there's the oil leak. So I've got to look for that. And well, we'll just crack on with trying to figure out what else is wrong. Right, so it turns out that battery was shot to bits. Charged for about 13 hours. The car fired straight up. It drove out. It idled, but it wasn't idling. Well, it was idling all right, but then it wasn't. And then the warning light came on for electrical system fault. Anyway, I was toying with the idea of trying the roof, and I turned the car off to go outside and just have a little look at the roof and see how much gunk and leaves and stuff were in all the joints. Went back in, the car sat down, turned it over, and it wouldn't start, and I was out the car for all of like 3 minutes. So a 13-hour charge, 10 minutes of idling, and then turn it off. 3 minutes later it wouldn't start. So that battery is knackered. So I'm charging it up again, and I'm going to stick it back in to fire the car up to get it back in the garage, so I can get it over the pit and have a little look underneath, because I'm not even buying a new battery for it until I've had a little look underneath and trying to look at the chassis and stuff as much as I can. In the meantime, I have given it a little wash today. It's got all the salvage marks off the windshield finally, so it doesn't actually look now like a salvage car. It's a long way from being clean, a very long way from being clean, and the bodywork needs some attention. But yeah, still not sure. The cleaner it gets, the more I see problems. But most of them so far are cosmetic. It's just a question of how much it's going to cost to put them right, and what sort of standard do I want to put them right to.